Hey everybody, welcome to Arcane Wednesday for February 17th, 2021. I'm your host, DM Gallibond. Alright, today on Arcane Wednesday, we're going to be looking at a powerful spell that's also a new spell for 5th edition. At least I couldn't find any antecedents for it in any of the um, source books that I have for previous editions. So I think this is new for 5e. If anybody knows any different, please leave comments below. Let me know where this first appeared if it's not new for 5th edition. And this spell is called Crown of Stars. Let's find out what it's all about. Alright, so Crown of Stars is a 7th level spell, and it's a spell that's for sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. It's casting time of 1 action, and it'll last an hour, does not require concentration. For the duration of the spell, which is either an hour or until the items are expended, you get 7 motes of light that appear and orbit your head. So, in other words, these little motes of light, they look like stars that are just racing around in a circle around your head, like some kind of ring or halo. And until that spell ends, you can use a bonus action on each of your turns to send one of those motes to streak towards a creature or object within 120 feet. A ranged spell attack is required for that, and on a hit, the target will take 4d12 radiant damage. Um, and if you miss, the mote is still expended. So it's like a more powerful version of Magic Missile, except it requires an attack roll. And when I say more powerful, I mean much more powerful. So all the time that you have 4 or more motes remaining, they shed bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet. If you have 1 to 3 motes remaining, they shed dim light in a 30-foot radius. So what does this mean? This means this is not a spell that you're going to be able to sneak around with, because you're going to be putting off light like it's a big way of saying, hey, I'm here, and making you a target for attacks by any of your enemies that have ranged weapons. And 120 feet sounds like a long range, but there are a number of spells and a few weapons that can easily uh, reach that far or farther. And so you're not completely, you know, you're not. If you become a target by using this spell, you still can be fairly well damaged. Uh, so the couple of other things to note about this spell: you can upcast it. If you upcast it at 8th or 9th level, the number of motes increases by 2 for each slot above 7th. So, for instance, at 8th level, instead of creating 7 motes, you'd create 9 motes. And at 9th level, instead of creating 7 motes, you'd create 11 motes. Now, a limitation of this is that with a bonus action, you can only fire one of those motes at a time. So you cannot say, there's no provision in the spell that says, I want to fire all the motes at the same time at the same target, and then, either roll multiple attacks for that or roll a single attack that would cause all of them to hit. Now, it might be, if you were homebrewing as a DM, or if you were a player that wanted to homebrew, you might want to ask your DM if there's a way you could sort of research a more powerful version of the spell, which necessitates that it would have to be an 8th level spell or a 9th level spell, and that, maybe an 8th level version of Crown of Stars wouldn't give you any more motes, but it would allow you to fire multiple motes at one time. Perhaps a 9th level version of Crown of Stars would allow you to fire all the motes at the same time, but would still not give you any more. So you'd still be limited to 7 motes, but you might, with an 8th level version, you might be able to fire, let's say, 1d4. I think as a DM, if somebody said, what would it take to fire more motes, I would say, let's make it an 8th level spell. Then I would say it's going to have a random component. You're going to be only limited to 7 motes. You're not going to be able to upcast it and get more motes. But you will, if you want to fire multiple motes, you have to roll a 1d4. And you will get 1d4 plus 1 motes fired when you decide to do multiple motes. And then I would think, if it's an 8th level spell, I would say that you get 1 attack roll, and it's either all the motes hit or all the motes miss. So there's a trade-off. You have a chance to do more damage, but if you're going to shoot multiple ones, there's a chance that that bigger attack is going to miss. Now, if you wanted to go to 9th level, then I would say that you would have the choice. You would still be limited to 7 motes. You would have the choice that you could fire any number of those motes at the same time, up to all 7. And you would be able to roll a separate attack roll for each mote that you fired at the same target. So, that's the one limitation I see here, is that if you're fighting against some really big, huge, nasty enemy, which, let's face it, if you have 7th level spells, you're probably going to be against really powerful enemies. You still have the opportunity that you're only going to do 4 points of damage, because if you roll 4 ones on those 4d12s, you're kind of screwed. But if you bump it up to a higher level spell, and or you have a higher level version of the spell that you are researching, then you might need to, or you might have a chance to deal more damage by having more motes fired at the same target. Now, also for 8th and 9th, I might say you need a material component, and that might be a gem of some kind. Why? I'm thinking of lasers here. So, in the real world, lasers, oftentimes they'll fire the light beam through a gem, um, to get the red laser or the green laser or whatever. Now, that's originally, I think now they use filters for a lot of them, especially for the little pointer lasers. But for the lasers that actually deal damage, I think they still use gems for those. So you might have to say that for an 8th level, you might, let's say, use a 500 gold piece emerald, which is consumed by the spell, if you're going to cast it at 8th level, and get the ability to do the 1d4 plus 1 firings at one time. And at 9th level, the 9th level version of this spell, that might require, like, let's say, 1,000 gold piece ruby, which is, again, consumed when you cast the spell. And let's face it, if you've got access to 7th level magic, you're gonna be able to get your hands on, very costly gems. It's not gonna be impossible for you to do. Is you're going to be able to teleport to places and plunk down hundreds or thousands of gold pieces in order to buy these supplies. So it's a way of sort of being a gold sink. Plus, I'm that kind of DM. You want something more powerful than what the rules give you, you're gonna have to invest some resources and some effort into it. You're not just gonna get it for free because you asked for it. Um, that's sort of the trade-off. All right, that is our discussion of Crown of Stars for this week. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, click the post notification bell so that you too can be notified every time new content drops. Look down in the description, you'll find all of the social media platforms that I am on, as well as how you can follow the live streams that we do 4 days a week over on my Twitch channel. And with that, thank you very much. Hope we will see you back here next week for Arcane Wednesday. Take care and good night, everybody.